Hello and welcome back to my channel and welcome to my September wrap-up. It's hard to believe that it's the end of September, but here we are. In September, I read a good number of books. Do I have my statistics with me? No, of course not. That would make my life easy. I read 12 books, so like better than lately, but like not 100% good. So I bought 16 books this month. All coming soon, so keep your eyes out. I gave out quite a few 2 stars this month, so it wasn't like the best reading month, but it was a reading month. So let's get into it. Starting off the month, I was trying to finish the last dry book from the month before, and it wasn't going well, so I read some graphic novels. I read Giant Days, Volume 9 by John Allison. I really enjoyed this. I rated it 4 stars. I'm looking forward to getting to the next one in the series. Then I read Here There Be Goblins, the first volume of the Adventure Zone graphic novel, which I really enjoyed. It is by the McElroy brothers and illustrated by Carrie Pitch. And I love it. I love the podcast, so this was really wonderful. And then because I was not enjoying that book so much, I actually read all of the illustrated edition of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I rated it 5 stars, of course. It was lovely. I don't think it's my favorite, but I do love it. So there we go. Then I finished the first book that is like of a normal format, which was The Science of Shakespeare by Dan Falk. This was the last book from my August jar picks that I had to finish. It was okay. I think that if you were someone who is not as familiar with the history of science, it would be difficult for you to get through. I relied a lot on my knowledge that I gained in my degree for this novel, or this book. I rated it 3 stars. It was good. I thought it had interesting things to say about science in Shakespeare's time. And I don't think I'll be keeping it, but I think I will probably check out Dan Falk's other books. And he's a Canadian, so that was a nice bonus. Then, as soon as I bought it, I read Give Me Back My Bones by Kim Norman for the 5th time. I love this book so much. It's all about the skeleton who loses all of his bones in a storm, and he's trying to find them again. And as he's looking for them, he gives them different names that we use colloquially, and then the name that we use in science. I think it's a great way to introduce the idea of anatomy to children, and teach them dem bones, and I loved it. I would highly recommend this for any little humans. Then I get into my jar picks. I know that the paper from this one is gone, but the first one that I tackled was The Midnight Mare because it was the longest. Oh, sorry. The Midnight Mare, or The Inauguration of Matthew Smith by Kate Griffin. I enjoyed this more than the first one. I rated it 4 stars, and I thought it was delightful. And somewhere in there, I also finished reading The Dungeon Master's Guide by Mike Mearls. I rated it 5 stars. I thought it was a really good book, generally speaking. I really enjoyed it, and I'm now a Dungeon Master. So, that's fun. Next, I finished Mother Night. I read this in a day when I was sick, and I loved it. It is about a war criminal, Howard W. Campbell Jr., who was a spy during World War II, but also a Nazi propagandist. And he's on trial in Israel, and he kind of talks about how he got to that point and everything that went leading up. Like with most Vonnegut, there was parts of it that was kind of, I don't want to say fantastical because it wasn't as fantastical as some of his other works, but like a little weird. But it was fantastic. I I loved this book. I rated it 5 stars. I think it was my favorite book of the month. Then I read another 5-star book. So, like, this was the good part of the month, my friends. And that was the Sunday Philosophy Club, the first Isabel Dalhousie novel by Alexander McCall Smith. It's a mystery-ish, and it was delightful. I'm really excited to continue on in this series. I think all of the references to philosophy in here are really cool, and it makes me want to go to grad school. Then I read The War That Killed Achilles. If you watched my vlog, you knew that I was super stoked when I first started this. I thought it was super interesting and super cool, and then when I've read it or finished it, it didn't quite do it for me. I rated it 2 stars. It was good. If you're really into the Iliad, it's something to check out, but for the casual fan, I don't think it'd be worth it. So those were the first 4 of my jar picks, and then I needed a break, so I read Saga Volume 8 by Brian K. Vaughan, and I rated this 2 stars. It felt like it was just another like middle filler sort of thing, but I did enjoy it, so I rated it 4 stars. I'm excited to read Volume 9. I don't know when I'll get to it because I know it's the last one that's going to be out for a while. And then finally, I finished my 5th jar pick, which was a miracle, and that was Dubliners by James Joyce. Going into this, I didn't realize that it was short stories, so I had a hard time figuring out anything in the book. I don't like James Joyce. That's what it is. I rated it 2 stars. I really considered giving it a 1 star because that's how much I disliked it. Yeah. So I think it's safe to say that I will not be reading Ulysses. I got to page 106 many years ago, and it's not happening. So I'm going to also get rid of that, and I feel better for it. So that was my reading month. If you've read any of these books or haven't and now want to, please let me know down below. I would love to hear from you about that, and I'll catch you in my book haul coming soon.